Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome. This is Abla, your lover. Welcome. If this is your first time being here, thank you for sliding in, and please don't make it your last. And if this is not your first time being here, hey girl, hey guy, welcome. Thank you for coming back. Please watch the video to the end. Make sure you subscribe, and if you love it, give it a thumbs up. You drop your comments, click the notification bell so you'll be notified each time a video is dropped. Today we'll be talking about the effects of toxic family or divided homes in the life of a growing child. Today we'll have 7 points. This is actually the part 2 of it, and please sit down, relax, and enjoy. The first point we'll be talking about is excessive anxiety, a high level of anxiety. So with kids from toxic families, they'll always have a high level of anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is excessive fear. That's when you have a very high level of fear, it turns to anxiety. So with kids from broken homes or families which are facing challenges and bringing about a toxic environment, they'll always develop they always have the tendency of having a high level of anxiety because of fear of the unknown. They don't know what exactly is going to come up next. They don't know what challenge, what issue would come up next. They don't know what difficulty would come up next in the home, and so they just develop excess anxiety. The second point we'll be talking about bouncing from one toxic relationship to another. Most of them are looking for certain things that maybe they did not get, or they find themselves being in the same situation where they left or where they grew up in. Why? Because when you're hurt or you're bruised from within and you don't get healed from it, you keep manifesting. Maybe you're hurt by something that happened, you keep manifesting these things. Sometimes you could even be in a relationship with someone who is not a toxic person, is not a problematic person, is a very good and calm person, but because you're toxic, and if this person doesn't know how to deal with your toxic attitude, it brings about a very uncomfortable environment. It brings about a very unpleasing environment, and because of this, you keep jumping from one relationship, which brings about toxic energy, to another. So it's good that you get healed from the depression, the pain, the agony you faced while growing up, of seeing maybe your family tearing apart, or something like your mother or your father being a single parent, struggling with difficulties in the home, bringing you up, and all that stuff. So it's good that you get healed from that. And the next point we'll be talking about, they may resort to excessive abuse of substances like alcohol, drugs, sex. There are certain things you get you start abusing in your life. You just start doing things out of pain. You maybe start drinking a lot, you start taking a lot of drugs, having kinds of friends that will not do you any good, because you just feel like the life is a waste already. What is the point? Because you feel so hurt and you don't know how to go about the pain you're experiencing. So you just say, I just need something to quench it down. I just need something to bring it down. And you find yourself doing things, and not just doing things, but doing them to excess, where it's even detrimental to your health and your well-being, detrimental to those you have around you. That way you don't even want to see someone who wants to even show you love, because by the time someone comes around trying to show you love, it's like, this one and it depends on the level of the issue you had while growing up, because people split out for so many different reasons. So maybe depending on the reason for the split out would also affect you in your behavior. Take for example, maybe there were two persons who maybe one was just out to explore the other, and the other realized, okay, this is what this person is out for, and your parents split out. And this will just give a child the impression that anybody who is coming to you just wants to explore, just wants to look for a fertile ground to cultivate and harvest from. So that way it also takes us to the next point, which is being a critical judge. Most children from this kind of homes become critical judges. They just become judgmental. They don't want to see anything around them. Anything that comes around them is a call for suspicion. As I'm saying this person, I think this person is out for something that maybe is always or definitely negative, or is not advantageous to him or her. This is just being judgmental, because that may not be the case, and that way you have a closed heart to certain things, to certain opportunities, to certain people coming with various aims. And even when somebody just approaches you, you don't even bother to really go deep into what this person really wants. Just looking at it from a distance, you say, this one, you just make your conclusion, you just give it the final say. And before you know it, you lose relationships, and the relationships you should have built up to help you in the future, you're unable to build it, and you keep your life in a way that no one can really be genuine. You can never really see someone to be genuine around you. Nobody will look to you like the person has your best intention or your best at heart. So this will take us to the next point, which says these kids or persons with this kind of experience become alienated from others. Like they alienate themselves from others. What does this mean? You like being in a quiet, lonely environment. You want to be alone. You want to have your space. You don't want to put yourself together with people in public, because first of all, you're a critical judge. You don't want to, you just feel like anybody who comes around you is a pretender. It's someone who wants to just want to get out of you the best. And being that maybe you're someone who is jumping from one toxic relationship to the other and it's failing, you start making funny decisions, and you just decide to keep yourself closed. And certain times you see people who end up being unmarried. Maybe they have never had a spouse before, they just say they want to be unmarried. It's because of certain things. They feel like maybe it's not for them. If it wasn't for their parents, why is it for them? How is it possible when you have tried and it's not working? So it's not for me. So you keep yourself alienated from society, you keep yourself alienated from people, you keep yourself behind closed doors always. You want to have your quiet time. You don't want something that someone will say something that would get into you as a double-edged sword. You just want to be on your own, because first of all, you don't even know how to relate with persons, because maybe you grew up just living a life of one thing. In fact, it was a routine. You really had no leisure. Like people would have leisure with family. You have mixed experiences amongst it. You see your parents being together, living life, even enjoying themselves. You don't know how to really put that kind of lifestyle, because you've not experienced it amongst your friends. You just want to be on your own. You don't even talk to people about your issues. You just let it be within you. You try to struggle with it. Maybe you find a way to handle it. If you can't, then you just keep draining up with the issues you feel within you. So that's definitely one point kids from such families experience. And then they have irrational beliefs or fears. They have irrational beliefs. Like when I say irrational beliefs, it means irrational beliefs, something that is so hard. It's so hard. Something like you say marriage wasn't for me. That's a belief you have already. When you start saying things like marriage is not for me, maybe because you've been in one toxic relationship to the other, and you start having yourself behind closed doors, you just say, in fact, being part of a society is not for me. That is an irrational belief, because it's wrong. It's not true. Because you've had this experience doesn't mean that you should just close yourself from being amongst people. You don't know, you meet someone who would help you, take you out of it, and so they get to have irrational beliefs and fear. When you start saying marriage is not for me, it is because you are afraid. You are afraid of the outcome. you just have an irrational belief, which is not the case. It should not always be the case. Rather, it's sometimes, because when kids are in such a situation, you see a kid who will say, okay, I will never be a wife, or I'll never be a husband. You see a kid who say, I will strive to make things right, I will strive to make things different. And you see a kid who would just be there. You just see a kid who would maybe start moving from one person to the other, one person to the other, one person to the other, and that will just be the end. That will be the end of the person's life. You just keep living like that, jumping from one person to the other. That is the effect of coming from a toxic home. You see someone who is unable to settle, but you see the person moving from one person to another. But you see another person who would just say, no, not at all, not at all. And you see another who would go into it and strive to make it different. So you see, these are the various things, these are the kind of beliefs that it would instill in us. If you come from certain families, it will make us feel that way. And sometimes we'll have the wrong thinking and the wrong impressions, leading us to making wrong decisions. So these are all effects. And moving over, we become people from children from such families will become hyper vigilant parents. They will become hyper vigilant parents. That's, they will look at things so deep. They will get so deep in being observant. And the truth is that, as a parent, let me tell you the truth. If you're that kind of person whom you're hyper vigilant, probably in terms of your spouse, you have to now go to checking, taking the person's phone, looking at stuff, peeping, eavesdropping, doing certain things that you just want to know, you just want to be following up. And in some cases, they also do it on their kids. They just become so nosy on certain things. The truth is, you're giving the child, also you're building a kind of feeling in the child when you're so hyper, when you're so vigilant, you're hyper vigilant. It's like you're monitoring the kid. The child will not feel free. That's the truth. Let the child be, let the child try, let the child just guide. When you say, okay, this is how it should be, let the child do it, let the child try. But when you're hyper vigilant, you go around checking things, you go around saying certain things. And the truth is, when you're hyper vigilant, you draw conclusions on things which are not true, because you go deep in getting information, you go deep in interpreting someone's character, and you may be giving the wrong interpretation to what someone is manifesting. And when you're hyper vigilant, you think you're doing it for the best. It's not for the best. Sometimes you don't need to put your eyes so much in things. So kids from this kind of families become hyper vigilant because they feel like it's just the same thing. You think that maybe the situation that happened with your parents would turn out to be your own situation. So you become so vigilant. You're monitoring. You're looking so deep to see that this thing, the way it's going, I'm seeing that at the tail end of it, things will turn out the way it turned out for my parents. Or your kids, you'll be looking so deep, you'll be so nosy about things happening. It should not be like, just let them feel free, especially when they get to a certain age. You can do it when they are very, very young, but when they start getting into the certain age, adolescent, you just guide them, you give advice and all that stuff. You just need to give them the best training from the very young age. By the time they get to a certain age, they will know already, because from you give a child what the child should know right up till or how do they say it? So it's good for you to have confidence, because when you're hyper vigilant, it means you don't have trust, you don't have confidence in those you have around you, and so that would bring a lot of issues in your home. Yes, so that was it. The points we gave: where you struggle with chronic anxiety, you become a critical judge, you're a hyper vigilant parent. This is just in any order. You're a hyper vigilant parent. You resort to excessive consumption of substances. You have an irrational belief of fear, and you become alienated from others. you become alienated from others, and you bounce from one toxic relationship to the other. These are the 7 points we've discussed today. Probably we'll have more points because there are tons and tons of points on effects of toxic families in the life of a growing child. So it is an issue plaguing the society today. Most people behave or manifest certain attitudes they don't really know. Sometimes you don't even know that it's because of where you come from. You just know it's a habit, but it's not a habit. It's something you experience. It's something you witness that has brought about the feeling or the kind of attitude you're manifesting. It's not actually who you really are. So those are the 7 points we've discussed today, and by the grace of the Lord, we'll have more points to share and enlighten you and make you aware of the certain challenges. If you're suffering from any of this, or if you've overcome any of this, please drop your comments down. Tell us how you did it, and we all learn together and keep moving on together. Thank you so much for being here right up to this moment. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate. Give this video a thumbs up if you're still here. Thank you. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we'll be coming with lots of more of interesting conversation on this topic. So please subscribe, click the notification bell so you won't be left out when a video is dropped. Thank you so much. Peace.